Well, good morning, children. Today we are moving to the sixth lesson, the Sultans of Delhi. In the beginning of 8th century, there were several attacks or frequent attacks in the northwestern part of India. These invasions were mainly aimed at plundering the wealth of India, occupying the territories of India, and spreading the Islam in India. The first one to come to India were the Arabs. The Arabs invaded India in the year 712 AD. They got Sindh and Multan under their control. Hence, the Islam began to spread in the newly conquered lands. However, their aggression soon decelerated. That means the Indian rulers put a brake on their acceleration, we can say that. And in the beginning of 11th century, a Turk by name Muhammad Ghazni, he invaded India. He not just once he invaded India, he invaded 17 times the India. He was a ruler of a small kingdom in Afghanistan. He plundered the wealth of India for 17 times and destroyed prosperous temples, cities, and palaces, we can say that. Some of the temples or rich temples which became victims to the raids of Muhammad Ghazni were Somanatha temple of Gujarat and Sri Krishna temple of Mathura in Uttar Pradesh became the victims to the raids of Muhammad Ghazni. Okay, and after him, one more Turk from the same land, Afghanistan, he invaded India in the last quarter of the 12th century AD. Okay, so his name is Muhammad of Ghori or Muhammad of Ghori, we can say that. So he invaded India and secured the provinces of Sindh and Punjab. Sindh and Punjab. When he advanced further towards the Indian territories, there he had to face the resistance of Prithviraj Chauhan, who was the ruler of Delhi and Ajmer. Prithviraj Chauhan, he successfully defeated Muhammad Ghori and sent him back. The only mistake Prithviraj Chauhan did is he let him go. He let him go. That means he spared him from the death penalty, we can say that. And the very next year itself, in 1192 AD, Muhammad Ghori once again he invaded India, and this time he challenged Prithviraj Chauhan in the second battle of Tarin, we can say that. The second battle of Tarin. Okay, in the second battle of Tarin, Prithviraj Chauhan he died. That means he was defeated, and later at the orders of Muhammad Ghori, he was executed. He was put to death by the soldiers of Muhammad Ghori. Okay, this is how Muhammad Ghori he defeated Prithviraj Chauhan and conquered Delhi. Delhi came under his uh, rule, we can say that. The difference between Muhammad Ghazni and Muhammad Ghori is that Muhammad Ghazni he invaded India and plundered the wealth of India for 17 times. Hmm? But whereas Muhammad Ghori he just not invaded India, at the same time he plundered the wealth of India, and he also established the Turkish rule in India. While returning back to his motherland, Afghanistan, he transferred the conquered territories to his general by name Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin started ruling as Sultan of Delhi. Qutbuddin, so here from here, the Delhi Sultanate starts from here, or the rule of Delhi Sultans begins in Delhi, we can say that. Okay, the first dynasty that we are going to study is the slave dynasty. Muhammad Ghori, who was going back to his Afghanistan, he gave the conquered territories to Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin Aibak started the slave dynasty. He named the slave dynasty because since he was a slave, in order to remember his slaveship, he and he named his dynasty as a slave dynasty. In the Qutbuddin Aibak, he defeated his rulers. He defeated the neighboring rulers and the enemies and extended his empire. Okay, and in memory of his conquests, he started the construction of Qutub Minar near Mehroli near Delhi. Okay, later this construction, that means Qutub Minar, was finally completed by one more sultan of the same dynasty, that is Sultan Iltamush completed, because Alauddin, sorry, is what you call Qutbuddin Aibak, he died, right? So totally five dynasties have ruled over, are the sultans of Delhi. Firstly, I told you slave dynasty. Then after comes Khilji dynasty, Tughlaq dynasty, Saeed dynasty, and Lodi dynasty are the dynasties that have ruled over Delhi, we can say. Then and after this, uh, see, this is the image of Qutbuddin Aibak, and it is Qutub Minar, which is near in Mehroli near Delhi. The only woman ruler to rule from the throne of Delhi was Razia Sultana. She dressed herself as a man, and she dispensed the justice in the court, and also she led the battles from the front. The nobles, or the orthodox nobles, who did not like to be ruled by a woman, they made a conspiracy against her and murdered her, or they killed her, we can say that. So that was the end of the slave dynasty. That after slave dynasty, here we go for the Khilji dynasty. After slave dynasty, the Khilji dynasty came to the power. Alauddin Khilji was the strongest of all the sultans of Delhi. He is known as a cruel king in history also. His rule was based on military power. His rule was based on the military power, we can say that. Alauddin, he introduced several reforms in the field of administration, military, and economics. He regulated, or he controlled the prices of the goods that were commonly consumed, uh, in order to save the citizens from being cheated by the merchants and the traders. Okay, this is how he got hold on the prices of the goods, the or the commodities that were regularly consumed, we can say that. And after that, he banned the consumption of liquor and gambling in Delhi. As you all know that consumption of liquor not only damages the health, at the same time it ruins the families economically. Okay, and it creates a big disaster in the economical life, as well as uh, social life and a familial life. And also gambling gambling gambling, where the people lose their money and all, in order to save them from being uh, losing their money and all. So he banned consumption of liquor and gambling in Delhi. The guilty were severely punished, the criminals were severely punished. So military campaigns. So he desired, or he had a dream of conquering entire India. In the first instance, in the first move, he conquered North India by his military strength or might, we can say that, military might or military strength. And to the south, he sent his military commander Malik Kafur, to impose his authority in the south. To impose his authority in the south. As a result, Malik Kafur He invaded South India and plundered the capitals, kingdoms and capitals of um, the South kingdoms. So he put an end to the rule of Yadavas of Maharashtra. Hmm? Then Kakatiyas of Varangal, the Hoysalas of Karnataka, and the Pandyas of Madurai in Tamil Nadu. So these kingdoms they became victims to the raids of Malik Kafur, the military general of Alauddin Khilji, we can say that. Then he continued his march. After defeating this kingdom, he continued his march. He proceeded up to Rameshwaram. All along the route, his army destroyed prosperous temples and looted the wealth. Okay, a large amount of gold and silver flowed to Delhi. Okay, so Alauddin he patronized the Persian poets like Amir Khusro and Amir Hassan, and he built a new fort in Siri. Sorry, he built a new fort known as Siri, and then Alai Darwaza in Delhi. So these are his contributions to literature and architecture. So this is Alai Darwaza, and okay. But the last days of Alauddin Khilji were very tragic. There were several revolts in the kingdom or in the palace to overthrow him from the power. Taking this as an advantage or taking this as an opportunity, Malik Kafur, the general of Alauddin Khilji, greed of power, power, he killed his own master Alauddin Khilji and declared himself to be the Sultan of Delhi. Later, he too was killed. Later, he too was killed by his enemies in a short time. In a short time. So, hence, the Khilji rule ended and Tughlaq dynasty came to the power. So, when we come to Tughlaq dynasty, there are many things about Tughlaq dynasty. So, one such important king of this Tughlaq dynasty is Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He is said to be one of the prominent sultan of the Tughlaq dynasty. He made several experiments in the field of administration, economics, and many other fields, we can say that. So he was such a man that he was very ill tempered and he took decisions in haste. He lacked in practical sense and he could be easily enraged in a word. All in all, he was, we can say that we can call him as a man of strange character. Strange character. Okay. So administrative experiments. So first administrative experiment is the transfer of capital. See, he believed Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He believed that the capital should be centrally located. Right? He believed that the capital should be centrally located so that he could look after north and the south. This was the one reason, and uh, in order to save his kingdom from the attacks of the Mongols, or in order to save his capital from the attacks of the Mongols, he wanted to shift the capital, and he decided to shift his capital from Delhi to Devagiri, that means in Maharashtra, South India, and whereas Delhi is North India, and it was 700 kilometers away from Delhi. He passed the orders, each and every citizen should go along with him to Devagiri. So, due to this, the people, many people who traveled with sorry, died due to hunger, starvation, isolation, anxiety, depression, stress, and worries. Okay, many people lost their lives on their way itself, and anyhow, finally, he reached Devagiri. After going there, after some months or some years, uh, he believed he realized that he had made a grave mistake. He said to himself and decided to shift his capital from once again from Devagiri to Delhi, the same miles, 700 miles away from Devagiri. Right now. So due to this, again the people, they were totally in trouble. They started hating the Sultan because of his hasty decisions, who lacked in practical sense, right? So as a result, again on the way, coming back to while returning to Delhi, many people lost their lives and very few people could survive and finally reached Delhi, we can say that. But this experiment costed him enormous wealth. That means he had to lose much of his wealth uh, in what you call that, in a failed experiment. We can say that this experiment failed. It did not work out. So next one is issue of token coins. So in order to overcome the problem of silver and gold, he issued copper coins in place of silvers with the same face value, and he asked the people to use this copper coins in the same with the same face value of silver, right? But he failed to pass the order that it is the only authority of the government. It is only authority of the government to mint the coins. He did not pass this order. As a result, people who were very clever, they started to mint the coins at their homes, and there was a chaos or confusion in the coins, where which one is fake and which one is right. Okay. And also it also resulted in the devaluation of currency. Why? Because everyone was printing or minting the coins at their homes. The people were very clever. They started collecting the gold and silver in their homes. They kept safely these things at home, and started circulating the copper coins that were minted at their homes. So this was totally a blunder, we can say that. And finally he had to withdraw. He had to withdraw the policy. Okay. So this also costed him enormous wealth, and the royal treasury began to decline, we can say that. So finally, when he was the people were not satisfied with the rule of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, people started revolting against him. While he was putting down a revolt in Sindh province, he died of fever, we can say that. He died of fever. And what he was doing is he was collecting the taxes from the peasants or the farmers mercilessly. Scared of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, many people, they gave up the agriculture and started to revolt against him. And some of them, they left the state and they traveled to distant places where they could be safe, and where they could be safe from this Muhammad bin Tughlaq, we can say that, right? And after this, after Tughlaq dynasty, the Said and the Lodi dynasties ruled Delhi for a short period. The Lodi, the last ruler of the Lodi dynasties, that is Ibrahim Lodi, was defeated in the first battle of Panipat at the hands of Babur, who led the foundation of the Mughal rule. Hence, the this is the end of the Delhi sultans. So totally five dynasties have ruled, and the last dynasty was um, Lodi dynasty, in form of last ruler Ibrahim Lodi, who got defeated in the Battle of Panipat by Babur. And now Babur is said to be the uh, founder of the Mughal dynasty or Mughal empire, we can say that. So coming to the contributions of Delhi Sultan, see what is here. The Hindus, they formed the majority in the kingdom. but the administration was carried out on Islamic lines. The army formed the backbone of the state. Army was the backbone of the state. Some sultans were absolute. That means totally complete. We can say that. One of the sultans, that is Balban, he said that he was the God's representative and hence accountable to God alone. Okay, we do not believe in. We don't believe in him, right? So some sultans they were like that. At the same time, these sultans they were scared. They were always fearful of losing the kingdom and power because many native rulers or the neighboring rulers they were frequently attacking the uh, what do you call that, Delhi Sultanate. Hmm? So they had to face the more resistance from the local rulers and the neighboring rulers, we can say that. So that is the reason they were scared of losing the power and the kingdom. So economy. So I told you the burden of land tax fell heavily on the peasants. Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he mercilessly collected the taxes from the farmers. Consequently, the peasants they revolted everywhere, and some they gave up the agriculture and ran away to the distant places where they could be safe from Muhammad bin Tughlaq. We can say that. So weaving was the major occupation of the people. The cities they provided employment to large number of workers due to brisk building activities that took place there. That means the constructions of palace, forts, monuments, and other things were going in the cities. As a result, the people they used to get engaged working as the laborers in these construction sites, and they could what do you call that, survive by earning something for their daily bread. We can say that the sultans they were mainly importing the horses, especially from Central Asia. We can say that. So next, coming to the art and architect literature, the main structure built by the sultans was Qutub Minar, which is 17 meters tall. It was built by Qutbuddin Aibak, but started the construction, whereas it was completed by Sultan Iltamush. Right. Then next is Alai Darwaza. It was built by Alauddin Khilji, and the fort of Siri. It is also built by Alauddin Khilji. We can say that. Then Huwatul Islam, a mosque. All these things are in Delhi, near Agra and Delhi. We can say that during their period, Urdu language evolved. That means it began, we can say that the Urdu language began during their time, or developed during their time. Amir Khusro and Amir Hassan were the great Persian poets of the period. Amir Khusro was a great musician, and he was proficient in musical instruments like tabla, sitar, veena, guitar, and other things. We can say that. And a poet by name Jayasi, he wrote Padmavat, which is a Sufi poem. A poet by name Pad, Jayasi, he wrote Padmavat, which is a Sufi poem. Okay, and the great saints of medieval times, we can say that, like Ramananda, Kabir Dasa, Rai Dasa, and Mirabai. Mirabai, they belonged to this period. They belong to the period of Delhi Sultanate, we can say that, or Delhi Sultans. So this is the lesson. Thank you. See, Arab invasion, Muhammad Ghazini, Battle of Tarin. Totally two Battle of Tarins took place. The first Battle of Tarin 1191, in which Prithviraj Chauhan successfully defeated Muhammad Ghori and sent him back. Whereas in the second battle, once again this fellow Muhammad Ghori, he challenged Prithviraj Chauhan and defeated and killed him in the battlefield. this war, or this war led to the what you call that, establishment